So Fresher Than You was created to give a spotlight to cultural icons and cultural staples that have been overlooked and overshadowed by the mainstream media.
Mi gente presente.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Juan Pablo Esquivel, and this is Cooperative Economics and Latinidad. Today we have Vanessa Ramirez from Fresher Than You. Before we begin, we would like for y'all to join this Facebook group called Support Latine-Owned Businesses. Come check it out. Now, Vanessa, thank you for coming and sharing this time with us. Would you mind introducing yourself and sharing the business of which you own?
So my name is Vanessa Ramirez. I am from Kansas City, Missouri, and my business is called Fresher Than You. I am the co-founder along with my Venezuelan co-founder, Daniel Ceres. And basically, we make custom air fresheners. We started with custom air fresheners, but we put art on everyday items. And usually the art is a staple of cultural icons that are ignored by the mainstream media.
Great. And what events led you to start your own business?
Personally, I come from a family of Latino entrepreneurs, Latinx entrepreneurs. My mom, my dad, and my siblings all kind of just turned their passions and their hobbies into businesses, like side hustles. And I just grew up with that being the normal thing around here. One day, we're both college students. Daniel just graduated, my co-founder, but basically, we came up with this idea of like, there's so much art out there by talented creatives, young talented creatives, our colleagues, people that we know, and it just goes unheard of, and people can't reach them or people can't see it. And so we thought, like, how could we create a bridge between those artists and what people are craving, which is cultural recognition. And that's basically how we created Fresher Than You, was to tie in these young creative artists, these young graphic artists, take their art and put it on everyday items that people are wanting and people need.
Who are those artists and people you have highlighted, and what items?
So far, we have two collections. Our first collection was created by one of our colleagues, high school friends, called Lisbeth. She created a collection that was Kanye West, Chance the Rapper, and Beyonce. And so we started with those just because we thought these are people that a lot of folks are seeing on the media. These are people that are doing great things out there for their own communities and their own culture. And so moving on to our second collection, we wanted to expand on. And so we created our second collection with J Balvin, Bad Bunny, and Michelle Obama. And so usually we try to put like something cool, that person said in the past on the back of the air freshener. And so J Balvin has Dios bendiga el reggaeton, amen. Bad Bunny has Que tú no ves que yo soy caro, and Michelle Obama has When they go low, we go high, her infamous quote. And so, our second collection was created by Brown.arte. Their pronouns are they, and they are Carla. So basically, we found Carla on Instagram. They live all the way in Texas, but we tried to find these cool graphic artists all around the United States that have really dope art. And so we reached out to them and we said, hey, can we basically, collab and pay you to make these certain artists? Yeah, those are some of our artists that we featured in our collections, and those are some of the artists that we featured in our product.
Nice. So how long have you been in business, and what progress have you experienced from the development stages to now?
We've been in business for about 2 years now, officially since we launched, since it was first an idea in our dorm room in college. And we, a lot of researching. Our first part of it was obviously the research. How can we find affordable yet really good quality air fresheners that will be shipped here? And obviously, that can make our art, that we can put our art on there. And yeah, it was just research. And then we would just have a lot of boxes in our dorm room from like 10 different companies at a time. And it was a lot of just like, oh, how does this smell? And so people might think like, oh, it's just an air freshener, but the creative aspect of it is a lot more. So it's like, what scent do you pair with Michelle Obama? You know what I mean? Like Michelle Obama is this elegant, powerful woman. So what scent can attest to her? And yeah, it was just a very cool process to kind of just play around with the creative aspect of it. And obviously the second part of the research was, okay, where are we selling this? Who are we selling to and how are we selling it? And obviously being on a college campus, that was a gold mine. We do a lot of pop-up shops. So we would just like kind of pop up and see kind of how folks would react to it. And so from there, we obviously moved on to being online. But yeah, I would say the biggest component of it was just researching and figuring out how can we do this and how attainable is it?
Good. And for our next question, what is it like to create a business with a partner?
I would say I'm fortunate enough to have a great co-founder that, we've known each other for years, and I feel like we have a similar cultural background. So there's a lot of understanding. Obviously, there are disagreements now and then, but I'm very, very fortunate to have someone that keeps me grounded in as to our mission for Fresher Than You. Anytime that there's something questionable in the air about our mission or about how we do things or ethics, business ethics or anything of that sort, I think it's important to have a co-founder or just people on your team in general that understand why you're doing something and don't astray from that, if that makes sense. Because I feel like as you grow, you obviously bring more people onto your team. And I think that needs to be an important mindset going into that, is like having people understand from the very beginning, this is why we're doing it. This is why it all started. And just not forgetting that if you're for the people and by the people, to truly attest to that.
Thanks. And what does for the culture mean to you?
That is actually the name of our second collection in Spanish, Para Cultura. And I think that's such a powerful statement. I mean, it's become a cultural staple that a lot of reggaetoneros, a lot of singers, a lot of artists have used, right? But I think from the very beginnings of one's upbringing, you understand that statement to like a more close tie with your heart. Para la cultura, for the culture, has meant to me, being around my community and showing up for my community, essentially. And having entrepreneurs in my family. And I mean, they've never seen themselves as per entrepreneurs. It was always like, oh, that's my side hustle, or like, that's my da-da-da-da, But I think that's exactly what for the culture is, showing up for people like, oh, you got a business, let me help you out, or whatever. In whatever way people can usually help me out in my community, they show up for that. And so that's something that I really, really appreciate when it comes to being for the culture, is like, yes, the aesthetic, yes, whatever, your creative side may think about when you think that, but it showing up and showing out is such an important thing when we say for the culture.
What are your thoughts on cooperative economics and Latinidad?
I think about this all the time because there's so much research out there that shows Latinos being one of the highest consumers in the United States, right? And that's not even counting all of the big carnicerias, panaderias, taquerias, everything that's out there that some census doesn't even collect data on, right? And so imagine all of that data that's out there being unknown just because our communities are usually being overshadowed by big corporations. And even though we have big economic machines going on in our communities like these businesses, there needs to be more power tied to our economic structure. because even though it's overshadowed because there's a language barrier or because of documentation issues or etc., there is so much power within the Latinx community and economics, right? And I think that's something that a lot of folks are starting to realize and are starting to see, is that Latinos are one of the biggest consumers. And I think a lot of people are trying to shift their gear and shift their marketing and shift their advertisement into like, how can we keep this this community coming in? And I think that's something that we need to realize as a Latinx community, is we have a lot of power. We have a lot of financial and economic power within this country, within our own communities. And I'm happy to see that a lot of people are now realizing that.
Now, what are your goals that you would like to achieve in the next 10 years?
I hope that within the next 10 years, I can attain a seat in a local office position here in Kansas City. That's one of my biggest hopes, is that I can once again show out and show up for the communities here in Kansas City in a political form. But I also see myself somewhat growing fresher than you. And even now, I mean, we're starting to expand. We're kind of finding our way, our avenue into t-shirts, stickers, other things that are everyday items that we see people wear. We definitely see Fresher Than You being on the come up here in 10 years. But it's also just like I'm very big on finding youth and other people to bring behind me, because I think that's super important. As you know, we have goals and we have different things that we strive to see in the future. I'm very big on not leaving people behind. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, as entrepreneurs, as community leaders, whatever you want to define yourself as, that's one of the biggest things that you can do, is have your goals, but bring on people with you in that same path. That's where I see myself in 10 years, is just, trying to build something for my community and also bringing people behind me and showing them the way.
What advice would you give to young Latina entrepreneurs?
Don't overlook the people that you have in your community. Definitely don't overlook that. Like I said, my family doesn't necessarily, they didn't grow up calling themselves entrepreneurs, because I don't think half of them knew what the word entrepreneur was. But they were definitely like top tier entrepreneurs in my eyes, and now that I've grown up, I'm like, wow, like you really did that. Like you really formed this whole empire, this whole enterprise on your own. Just look to your own community, look to your own people when looking for mentors or looking for different leadership styles, because it's definitely there. Sometimes our folks can go overshadowed, by us and by people around us. We're all guilty of that. And so I would give that advice. And the second piece would probably be research. Don't give space for people to assume that you don't know, because you do know. Research is such a powerful tool that allows us to that easily Google and all of these different things, that YouTube, can easily put you somewhere where you thought you wouldn't be. And it's not because you didn't have that knowledge, it's because of that knowledge and that the experience that you have. A lot of people don't buy just because your product is cool. A lot of people buy because because you have a certain mission, because you have a certain mission statement. So I would say, be your authentic self as well. Don't be scared to share your story when you're creating whatever you're trying to create, because usually your story is what makes you marketable / amazing. That's point blank amazing.
How would you like our viewers to support your business?
Purchase from us, that'd be amazing. But I would say, if you go on our page, Fresher Than You, at Fresher Than You Official, you, not YOU, but you, the letter, you can see different Black artists, Black creatives that we have shared their story in the recent past months on our page. And they are local artists that do many different things. So if you could go on our page and check them out, give them a follow. Our collection artist, our graphic artist, that would be amazing as well. At Brown.arte was our recent second collection para la cultura artist that we used. And they do amazing, amazing work. So just checking out their websites as well and checking out their profiles is a big one for us as Fresher Than You. If there's anybody listening that, this seems kind of intriguing to them in any sort of way and want to collab or want to even be featured and talk about that, like our doors are always open. We're always willing to connect with different people and connect with different folks, trying to share and trying to spread connections.
Any specific items we should check out and purchase?
We actually just restocked our second collection. So if y'all want to go check that out, we have our shop linked to our Instagram page. Definitely check out the Black creatives that we have featured in our profile. We have an author on there. We have a graphic artist on there. We have spoken word artist on there as well. So checking out their stuff as well, I think would be amazing because they're just amazing creatives that are local from Kansas City as well. And so I would say that specific art.
Now we would like for you to provide a 1 to 2 minute elevator pitch about your business.
So Fresher Than You was created to give a spotlight to cultural icons and cultural staples that have been overlooked and overshadowed by the mainstream media. Fresher Than You was created back in 2018 by Daniel Ceres and Vanessa Ramirez. Vanessa being a Mexican-American Chicana and Daniel being a Venezuelan immigrant here in the States. And so we created Fresher Than You to give a sense of identity and recognition to our communities, but we also created it to give a platform to young graphic artists that we see do dope work all the time, but it just goes overlooked and it's pretty much unknown to many communities. We try to find a way to bridge both of those things, our passion for culture and our passion for art and youth, and kind of create a bridge between both of those. Fresher Than You also always tries to find a way to collaborate with local entrepreneurs in Kansas City. And so from our pop-up shops, I think that's been very evident. We did our first pop-up shop and collaborated with one of the only Latina-owned businesses in Kansas City downtown. She has a sustainable one-stop shop for clothing called Closed Minded. So I would say our mission from our very own product to the people that we work with has always been for the community and to our community. And so, yeah, Fresher Than You just is hoping to expand and grow. And if y'all have any ways to support that, we would more than be happy to talk or appreciate it.
Perfect. With that said, that is all the time that we have now. Thank you, Vanessa, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And for everyone at home, make sure to like our YouTube video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on all the social media platforms at Latin Entertainment _presents. Until next time on Cooperative Economics and Latinidad.
Mi gente presente.